The message from state health officials has been clear. Keep to yourself this holiday season, as Governor Charlie Baker reiterated yet again today.
We're urging everybody to make a difficult choice this Thanksgiving. We saw what happened in Canada following their Thanksgiving in October, where they had a big spike in cases literally almost 2 weeks to the day after their holiday. The best way to celebrate Thanksgiving is to only gather with members of your household, the people you live with. Any group gathering beyond this poses a significant chance of spreading the virus.
Still, 25% of people nationwide indicate they're planning to travel for Thanksgiving this year, according to a recent Morning Consult poll. And many do have their reasons, so if you absolutely must, what's the safest way to go about things? Boston Globe travel writer Christopher Muther has been grilling the experts, and he joins me now with all that he's grilled. Christopher, nice to see you.
Great to see you as well, Jim.
I want to be clear before we start. What you wrote, you're not recommending travel. You're saying if you have to travel, here's some advice about the safest way to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, a lot of people, we've heard the message over and over again that you need to stay home, you need to limit the size of your group. But there are some people in some situations who, will travel. There's college kids going home. There's people who just don't listen to advice. Those people.
Well, I hope at the end I'm describing you as the don't travel writer. By the way, your TWA sweatshirt, which I just noticed, I am wearing Howard Hughes underwear. It's unbelievable what a coincidence it is. So can we go down the list if we can
Thank
for
you for
a second?
that nightmare, Jim.
Let's go down the list. I have a bunch of questions. If you got to go, fly or drive, what's the answer?
So there's no clear answer, of course. If you have to go, and you can go from one direct spot to another, then you should fly. I think that's right. Yes. If you have to, no, you should drive. All right.
Okay, well, that's very helpful.
So you should drive. That's the bottom line. Only you should not drive. You should not drive if your trip would require an overnight stay. In that case, you should fly. The idea is to stay off the road or stay away from other people as much as possible. So that means if you're driving and you need to stop for a night or two, you're sort of exposing yourself to, other people. If you're on a plane, and you can get there in a few hours rather than a few days, that's the option that you should take.
And you wrote that some survey, I can't remember what it was, determined that of all the major airports, based upon COVID-19 protocols, Logan is apparently the safest. Why is that? It
has to do with the protocols they've taken. So in terms of, enforcing wearing masks, hand sanitizing stations, there's testing for employees of airlines in Logan. So they looked at all the airports around the country. So technically Boston tied with a couple of others, but, they've put us at the top of the list. So anytime Boston is at the top of the list, I'm just going to grab it. Yeah.
Did you read the great quote from this guy I never heard of, Neil Segal? He's at the University of Maryland School of Public Health. He says air travel is safe as long as the plane picks you up at your house, which is exactly how I feel about this thing. So you're on the plane. Hopefully you're only doing a plane if you have a nonstop flight. I think that was the point you were trying to make a minute ago.
That was the point.
Planes, airline company, I know the Howard Hughes thing threw you off. Airline companies are raving about how much the air is recirculated. What's the truth? How safe is it once you're on the plane, assuming that people keep their masks on?
Well, this is, I think, the issue. Once you're on the plane, you're in the air, you're wearing a mask, you're wearing a face shield, air is going through HEPA grade filters. It's safe. The thing that I've noticed, though, is that people, they're not as cautious as they were early days of the pandemic. For instance, at the airport now, when they start calling for people to line up, they're not leaving 6 feet between themselves. When the plane lands, they're telling people, remain seated until your row is ready to deplane. and people are still, they might be seated, but eventually they stand, and then they're standing kind of shoulder to shoulder. And at that point, I honestly don't know if the air is still circulating at the same rate that it was while the plane was in the air.
And very quickly, I'm really glad you included one of your pieces, that this notion, which I was thinking about with my kids, but disabused myself, if everybody gets tested, you're fine. If everybody gets tested, you are not necessarily fine, correct? Quickly, if you can.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it just depends on, the test is a snapshot of when you get it done and when the virus is in your body. So it could be you have the test done, and it could be that it just hasn't shown up yet in the ability to test. So yeah, they recommend testing before and after, within a few days, and between that time to stay away from people.
I'm so glad you ended your piece quoting some doctor, I can't remember her name, from Tennessee, who said the best rule of thumb is delayed gratification. And that is exactly where I have evolved into. But I want to talk about you for a second. You reminisced beautifully in your column about your mother's lumpy gravy and the gelatin molds that all of us grew up with, and really I think the one my mother made is still actually edible, or at least as edible as it was then. So am I assuming that you're taking the delayed gratification route with your family, or what are you doing?
I am taking the delayed gratification route. We just had the talk a couple of weeks ago, and
it's hard.
My family includes my nieces who are in their early 30s. One of them is pregnant. My parents are in their 70s. So, we decided the most important thing to do was just to be safe and, delayed gratification. Also, it's sometimes nice to have a break from family. I mean, that's between you and I. Please don't say anything to my folks about that. But yeah, so it's not really delayed gratification. In some cases, it's instant gratification. I'm not saying that for me, just, in general.
But so to sum up, I only have 30 seconds left. I want to be totally clear. So as relates to flying or driving, you should either definitely fly or definitely drive. Is that your position? Is that what you were trying to make clear before?
Yes, I was saying that when it comes to driving or flying, you should drive and fly. Yes, that's what I was exactly saying. Thank you for
That's
the
why you're
clarification.
who you are. Christopher Muther, it's great to see you. I've missed you. I hope you're well.
You as well, Jim. Great to see you.